So, I was walking around my house, and then I discovered I forgot to water one of my plants. So, you know what? I thought, why not set up all the camera and show you what I do in this case? Because you can see, like, the yellow and even the brown leaves. So we're going to have to trim a little bit. So I'll show you what I trim and what I look for to make this plant look good again. So what we'll need is this, pruning shears, but before we're going to use that, we'll have to clean it with some alcohol. And we do that to make sure that we don't spread any disease from one plant to the next. So let's grab a little paper towel and clean the tool. There we go, just clean it, make sure to wipe it. So now this tool's clean. Now we can use this. Now we know for sure that it won't spread any disease from this plant to another plant, or maybe from another plant to this plant. So we want to do this at any time we switch from one plant to the next. So now it's clean. Let's look for this leaf here. You can see that this is yellow. I'll move this aside so you can see where it goes. It goes all the way up here. We want to cut it right up at the base here. Let me try to show you a little bit closer. So we want to cut it off right here. Right where it connects to the stem. Alright, so we've decided we're going to cut it right at the stem. Right up here. Grab the scissors and cut it right off. As close to the stem as possible. So there you go. Some will just fall off right away because they're that dry. So these are the dry brown ones. This is just completely dried out. It's because I forgot to water it for a week or so, and it's in the middle of the summer, and it's a hot room, so all the moisture will evaporate quite quickly. Alright, so there's a few more obvious candidates, like this yellow one back here, so I'll cut those off too. Just make sure to go as close to the base of the leaf as you can. So I'll try to go as close to the stem here. This one. Alright, so we'll just pull this out. Alright, so now that we have the most yellow ones and the brown ones cut off, you will also see some of these that have yellowed, but they're not completely yellow. Most of these leaves, they will, actually all of the leaves, they won't turn back to green, so we can also trim these off. So just go around to look for any of these and just remember to cut them off as close to the stem as you can. Also some of these are mostly green still, but the edges are yellow, so just cut them off. It will encourage new growth anyway, so get rid of all the leaves that don't look too good. There we go. As you can see, this plant has a really obvious front and back. It's because it's in a room in a corner. It always faces the light at the same time. It's not, like, for some plants you would recommend to rotate it, but for this plant I don't. Because if you do, you get really weird growth. So I found an example of what would happen if you rotate this too much. So here you've got a vine. This hasn't been trimmed, so you can see that this is really long. If you were to keep this on the plant, you can see that it has growth in really strange directions, as well as here. Like one goes here, the other goes here. And that's what your whole plant will look like. It will look very disorganized and kind of weird, really. So while we have this plant here, and while we're trimming, I kind of also want to trim this, because you can propagate this. So I can show you what this looks like from close up. So here you can see a really long vine. This is my fantastic permanent filming setup. Alright, so it's still going. And then here we go up and here it connects to the plant. It's a little difficult to show you, but here we go. Here we go. Here it connects to the plant. So we want to cut it off right here, and ideally under a node. And this is a node right here. It's a bit thicker than the rest, and it's where the leaf comes out. Oh, there's a leaf in the way. You can see little air roots coming out of there. We want to cut under that because those will turn into new roots. So let's grab your scissors, cut it off right under the node. Okay, so we cut it off, as you can see right here. Yep, focus a little difficult, but there you go. So right here you got the node. This is a bit thicker than the rest of the stem, and you can see very small air roots with the little brown dots coming out. Can't really zoom in that well, but you can see one here. Oh, yeah, there we go. You can see one right there, another one up here. This one is a little air root. If you go down, you see that this plant has quite a few of them. Yep, there we go. Couple more, couple more. So this plant is super easy to propagate because it has so many nodes. So I can, let's see, this cutting is pretty long. We can probably cut this into at least 5 or 6 different cuttings, but you want to make sure that at least that every cutting will at least have 2 leaves, because the leaves are needed for photosynthesis, so your plant has some food. So again, we'll cut it right under a node. You can see that this is 1 leaf, 2 and 3 leaves, so we'll cut right, and cut a little up above that. So right there. So we got 3 leaves on this cutting. 1, 2, 3. Cut right there. Sorry, right there. Keep going. 1, 2, 3. Cut it right there. We've got 1, 2, 3. Cut it right there. And then since this one barely has any leaves, just this one here, I'm gonna try to propagate it, but I don't think it will work because it is quite a big cutting, but it doesn't really have that many leaves. But that's okay. Like not all of them will work. All right, let's see how well we get on in this small space. All right, so now that we've cut them all up, got all the cuttings right here, we're gonna pot them. So I don't like to do this in soil because it can grow diseases quite quickly. So what I like to do is either do it in water or choose a bit of LECA. So here I got us a really small pot. It's tiny. It's just there to make sure that roots will grow, and then you can repot them as soon as you possibly can. So, okay, I took a few out, so it's now almost empty. I use this to make it easier to check how much water is in the pot, because it's a bit difficult. There's no drainage hole, so it's difficult to see how much water is in there. So that's how I do it. Just stick like a little stick down there, and then you can see how much water is left. So we got the cutting, got the pot, just put it in there somewhere. Actually might want to keep it at the edges here. Okay. And because we have quite a few, I'm going to have to balance it, so it's going to be a bit difficult to film. But another one. This one has a big air root. Another one. Alright. This one. And then the last one will just be at the edge here. So let's put it down for a little bit. Okay, so let me try to show you what's happening. It's if I let go, they will fall out. It's because they're not anchored down. I'm going to put some of the LECA around the roots right now. Alright, let's see if this works. Grab a few of the pebbles. Let's put them in there. So now they're anchored down a little bit, and now you can let them go. See, they're not going to go anywhere. and now you want to give them some water. So for watering, I like to use water, obviously, but we're adding some hydroponics fertilizer to it, and this is important because the LECA in here doesn't have any nutrients. So soil does, so that's why you can use different types of fertilizer when you use soil, but since we're not using any soil, we're going to have to use this special type of fertilizer. So in this case, I have to add 1 milliliter for every liter. My container is 3 liters, so I'm going to add 3 milliliters. Usually the little things have lines on them, as you can see. You can very subtly see some lines in there. Every one of them is a milliliter, so it's easy to measure. So I'm going to make that mix. So I couldn't use my 3-liter container, so I used an old fertilizer bottle. There is no longer fertilizer in here, so I just added some of the hydroponics fertilizer. This is about half a liter, so half a liter of water and half a milliliter of the fertilizer. Mix it. Now we can add it to the LECA. Got the little pot. Just add it. Bit of water. Spilling everywhere, that's okay, but it's in there. Not all the way full, obviously. You don't want to drown the plant, but just enough in there so the plant can have some water, but not drowning, basically. So this is all good to go now. That took a lot of effort. It's so warm in here, but it's done. I potted up the thing. It has some water. So now really that's all that's left to do is to clean this again. We want to use the same alcohol. I already did that, but you want to do that when you switch to new plants as well. And just to be safe, every time you put it away and anytime you pick it back up, just clean it. Yeah, you can spread diseases really easily, so it's really not worth the risk to not do it. So yeah, let's just clean it anytime. The plant looks really nice again. Obviously now it's a good idea to water the plant instead of forgetting it, because otherwise that will happen again. So by watering it frequently, or at least once per week in the summer, you will encourage the plant to grow a bit more, and the pruning that we did actually promotes growth, because now it doesn't have to take care of those sick leaves anymore. It can grow new leaves that actually pick up the light again, and that can cause photosynthesis, and that can feed the plant again. So pruning is a good thing, for sure. But also, don't forget to water your plant. Alright, thank you for watching. This is something new I'm trying to do. I'm not very good at videos. I've been writing a lot about plants, but videos is very new to me, so I hope you enjoyed this.